Good morning, Mike Mafia, your boy Flight Mike here, and I'm going to be taking you guys through some very interesting news in regards to all of Los Angeles sports, including an Andre Drummond update and a big signing that the Los Angeles Clippers are making for a player that I believe we all are rooting for. Really quickly, before I get to the content, I am on 3 hours of sleep right now. Unfortunately, this has been a recurring theme in my life over the past month and a half. So do me a favor and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm just to reward my hard work. And finally, we released our very first episode of the Laced Up podcast featuring myself, Get Like Coop, and Mike Korzemba. I'm going to leave a link to it at the end screen and in the description down below. If you subscribe and turn on our notifications for that channel, you will enter for a chance to win an Xbox Series X or a PlayStation 5. And bear in mind, so far, we have about 13,000 subscribers on that channel, which means you have a pretty good chance of winning a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X for free. Now that we got all that out of the way, cue the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? So tonight, the Los Angeles Lakers are set to take on the Milwaukee Bucks. And although the Los Angeles Lakers are still going to be shorthanded, LeBron James should be out and Anthony Davis should still be out, they are going to get a former All-Star that finally joins their starting five, as we got word that Andre Drummond is not only going to make his debut tonight, but he is also going to be starting in place for Marc Gasol. And this is going to be the norm moving forward. Now, this isn't anything that should come to as a surprise to anyone whatsoever because, well, in terms of a comparison between Marc Gasol and Andre Drummond is currently in the prime of his career, whereas Marc Gasol is, well, not in the prime of his career. Now, Skip Bayless really had a field day with this. If you go to Jeannie Buss's Instagram, she posted a picture of the late, great Dr. Buss with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar the first time Kareem came into the office. And then the very next slide, you see Jeannie Buss with Andre Drummond in her office. And although these are two completely different times, and I'm sure what Jeannie's trying to say is the Lakers are continuing in the tradition of having remarkable big men on their roster, this is also being interpreted as, oh my goodness, Jeannie Buss thinks Andre Drummond is the next coming of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I honestly don't think much of this. I think Jeannie Buss is just trying to explain to Andre Drummond that we're extremely excited to have you here, especially after he went through a trade deadline where people didn't really even want to give up a second round pick to trade for him. On top of that, he's had some trouble securing a max contract as well. So if anything, I think this is angled more towards Andre Drummond to make him feel welcome as a Los Angeles Laker and make sure he knows that he is absolutely wanted on that franchise and we're all excited for him. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this, and honestly, I'm really excited to watch Andre Drummond play tonight. Now, in other news, we have some information from the other team in Los Angeles, and this is coming straight from both Champ Charania and Adrian Wojnarowski, and it's in regards to probably the best center prospect that you could still have on your team from the buyout market. Well, unless if you think Hassan Whiteside's a little bit better than Demarcus Cousins, but at the same time, I don't think Hassan Whiteside's going to get bought out. Now, the Los Angeles Clippers aren't necessarily in the position that they'd hope they would be at this time of the year. Now, bear in mind, they're 3 games away from first place, but currently they're sitting at third place in the West, and there are clearly some holes on their team that they needed filled prior to the trade deadline. And their top hole was probably the fact that they didn't have a playmaking point guard. This was solved by making the sacrifice of Lou Williams, trading him to the Atlanta Hawks, and getting Rajon Rondo in return. By doing this, not only do they have a remarkable future Hall of Fame point guard that is known for his abilities to make plays for his teammates and make just extremely high IQ basketball plays, in addition to being an absolute savant when it comes to analyzing film, but they also got themselves a former Los Angeles Laker, which should be remarkable for them if they were to ever face the Los Angeles Lakers in a series in the playoffs. Bear in mind, Rondo's literally literally 1 year removed from winning a championship with the Lakers. And as a matter of fact, if we just completely disregard the fact that we're 1 year removed from the last NBA season and just jumped into the clear numbers, Rajon Rondo is literally 5 months removed from winning a championship with the Los Angeles Lakers. That's going to be extremely valuable come playoff time. Now, don't get it twisted. The Clippers could use as much help as they possibly can get, and they're looking to get that exact help from the likes of Demarcus Cousins, because according to Adrian Wojnarowski, free agent center Demarcus Cousins and the Clippers are discussing a 10-day contract, but no decision is expected until next week. So you might be wondering, okay, is Demarcus Cousins going to get the exact same treatment that Andre Drummond is currently getting himself? Is he going to immediately come in and start for the Los Angeles Clippers in the place of Ivica Zubac, or possibly be the first big man off the bench in place of Serge Ibaka? Well, if you look at Demarcus Cousins' statistics this season so far, they really don't look that good. The man is averaging 9.6 points, 7.6 rebounds, and 2.4 assists per game off of 38% shooting from the field and 34% from three. He has a player efficiency rating of 15.1. Now, the good news is, despite being a clear offensive liability this year, he is still a really decent defensive player, or at least the advanced analytics show that he is positive when it comes to defensive box plus minus, and he's still positive when it comes to VORP, which is value over replacement player. But the Clippers' plans for Demarcus Cousins aren't going to be anything too significant. They want a third center behind Ivica Zubac and Serge Ibaka, and they've been talking with Demarcus Cousins on potentially fulfilling that role on a 10-day contract. Now, currently, Demarcus Cousins is in LA and is beginning testing protocols to join the Los Angeles Clippers, and he does have ties to the Los Angeles Clippers. He's former teammates with Rajon Rondo when he was with Rondo and Anthony Davis in New Orleans. He went to college with Patrick Patterson, and he played with Kawhi Leonard in a couple of All-Star games. But to be honest, if Demarcus Cousins is even able to get past this 10-day period, which I really hope he will be able to, but I'm not really sure or confident in his abilities to do so. Even if he does, I don't really expect him to play a major role for the Los Angeles Clippers, especially in this stage of his career. What's happened to Demarcus Cousins is definitely probably the most unfortunate thing I've ever seen in all of sports, probably since what happened to Isaiah Thomas, and very similar to that level in the sense that this is a man that was set for a huge payday, that was considered to be the best center in the league until a torn Achilles completely sapped him of his athleticism, and by the time he was ready to come back to try to make a push towards establishing himself as a remarkable center once again, he had a brief stint with the Golden State Warriors where he proved that he could at the very least be a role player, and then that summer when he signed with the Los Angeles Lakers, he once again tore his ACL before even stepping on the court for them. So then he went this past offseason and decided to reunite with his former Kentucky teammate John Wall in the Houston Rockets, and well, that didn't really work out for him either, because after 25 games he was bought out. He still has the ability to turn back the clock, but for the most part right now, the numbers and the stat sheet aren't really doing him so many favors, but I'm hoping that this stint with the Los Angeles Clippers could be just what he needs. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about this. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.